Same message, different night. Another round of dangerous protests in downtown Columbus, all in response to...
Intersection of 3rd and Broad right now. Now, if you look down Broad right here, these two SWAT trucks had just got here within the last minute or so.
He wants people to protest peacefully.
This sinister enemy got inside the mind of police officers. No different than this sinister got inside the minds of officials and went and dragged Jesus and took him to a cross and brutally beat him to death. The same sinister attack is the same sinister attack that happened last week. Some police officers full of hatred, full of hell, full of the sinister characteristics, and took the life of an amazing man. Knowing that if he could keep disrupting this year, he would permanently put in our minds that this will not be the decade of transformation, this would become the decade of trouble. That we would think about trouble in every corner, at every place. We would look for trouble. We would look for trouble when we see a police officer, and we would say, that's trouble. When we walk down the street and we see an African American who had braids in his hair or his pants below his backside, we would say, that's trouble. When we see a Caucasian young man who had tattoos on his arms, we would say, that's trouble. When we see somebody from the Middle East and they had their clothing on that represented their culture, we would say that's trouble, because the enemy knew one thing. If I can start the year off troubling their minds, I can control this decade of transformation and turn it into a decade of trouble. I stand today because I knelt for the last couple of days. People from all over the city, the state, the country were calling me saying, Pastor, executive coach, can you make a statement? They were calling me saying, could you come on some of our talk shows? And here's my statement. I had to kneel down in prayer for the last couple of days before I make a statement. I had to assess my feelings. I had to take time on my knees with the God that I serve, the God that I love, and I had personal assessment of my life. I assessed my emotions, my feelings. One day on my knees, I was angry. And I said, Lord, I'm angry. One day I said, Lord, I'm frustrated. One day I said, Lord, I don't know what to do and what to say. One day I was on my knees asking the Lord, why? That's called personal assessment. I wasn't going to make a statement because the Bible I believe in says, be slow to speak, quick to listen, and slow to anger. And I did that so that I wouldn't make a feeling-based decision. I wanted eternity to speak to me for earth issues. So I was on my knees, waiting till eternity spoke to me. But before eternity spoke to me, I spoke to eternity about my feelings. That I was angry. I was frustrated. I was frightened for the future that my granddaughter and my grandsons and my great-grandkids, the America that they would inherit. I was frustrated at that kind of world that I had to lead them to. And then, on my knees, I heard the Lord say to me, I will fill you with empathy. Empathy is the ability to feel what other people are feeling. to feel what a family is feeling when police officers take their husband and take their uncle's life. Empathy is to feel what it feels like when people are dying of COVID viruses and you can't go to the hospital and see your loved ones leave the earth. And so he said, I will fill you with empathy before you stand. And then he said, I will fill you with words of encouragement so you can encourage those who are hopeless. And he said, I will fill you with elevated faith so that you will be able to share the future that awaits the generations to come. And then, as a leader, I'm able to stand to tell you today that I empathize with you, that I'm full of empathy, and I pray that all of us allow the Holy Spirit to fill us with empathy so we can feel what other people are feeling, to feel the hurts and pains of people who lost loved ones, people who hurt because of injustice. Don't have to be their color, their gender, their socioeconomic status. You just have to allow the Holy Spirit to fill you with empathy. Secondly, as a leader, you have to allow the God to fill you with words of encouragement so you can stand strong and give words of encouragement to hopeless, hurting humanity of all ethnicities, of all ages, who are crying for leaders who have empathy and have words of wisdom, words that encourage hope and help. And lastly, when you stand, be full of faith, elevated faith. Faith that elevates you above the circumstances so that you can look down at it and not be in it. That you can be higher than the circumstances and look down on it and pull people up from the places that they are and understand that God has a plan for you. Yes, it's evil, but not for evil. To give you hope, to give you help, and to give you a future. And after you've done all you can do, leaders across this city, this state, this country, this world, then stand. Stand full of faith. Stand full of wisdom and encouragement. Stand full of empathy so that the world can see not only our feelings, but our reality. A broken, sin-infested world waiting for the sons and daughters of God to be the light of the world.